I just finished my first overnight fast packing trip where I did a 7-mile trail run down the Appalachian Trail in Maryland and camped at the Rocky Run shelter with about 30 other people, and then trail ran back 7 miles the next morning. So this is my first time fast packing, and I did it a little bit different than what I think a lot of people are fast packing. You know, typically fast packing is all about covering a ton of mileage, but for me, I just wanted to cover that mileage quicker and then enjoy camp more. So this is my full gear loadout for the overnight trip that was expected to have temperatures down into the mid 40s, and this is a full comfort list, and you'll see it's not the typical fast packing gear list. Okay, so this is my new pack. I've tried it out on some trail runs, but this is the first overnight, the real trip. It's the Gossamer Gear Fast Kumo 36. And I got to say, it felt fantastic with 17 pounds. It really was stable. It was comfortable. It didn't jostle around. And I was able to, you know, carry everything that I needed. Okay. So we're going to start with the outside like most people do. Let's just get this out of the way. This is my camp towel. Just a basic REI microfiber camp towel that was, you know, a great snot rag. I didn't have any condensation on my tent, so I could have used it for that. Any other wiping down, you know, camp towel use, okay? Okay, on the outside in one of the shoulder straps, I carried a 700 milliliter water bottle for quick access to hydration. I also carried in a smaller pack bleach, which is what I usually use to purify my water, but for the first time, I used a BeFree Katadyn water filter, which worked out fantastic. Also on the outside of my pack, I have this little personal mace. I started carrying this because 2 years ago, there was a really weird incident at an AT shelter, and the SOS beacon isn't going to get you help or be able to help you out in the immediate scenario. So now I always carry this little mace that's like $10 at Walmart, and it just gives me that safety and comfort. Also in my shoulder strap, I have a very small knife. This is all that I've ever used for years and years and years of backpacking. In this pocket on my shoulder strap, I carried my phone, so it was really quick access to shoot video, and I also carried this selfie stick that's also a tripod. It's about 6 ounces maybe, I can't quite recall. In my hip belt pockets, which I really like having hip belt pockets. So what I finished with was just this little container of drink mix. And on the other hip belt pocket, I had a Cliff Bar wrapper, my Hammer Enduro Lights electrolytes. I've got my Hammer Perpetuum Solid energy tabs. These are fantastic. And since I had already packed up my food, I have a little bit of instant coffee that I had in the morning, which was fantastic. Something I really like about these hip belt pockets is that they really do open and close well with one hand. So that was really nice. Okay, on the outside, what I finished with is I've got my Katadyn 1 liter filter. This is the one little pole that I need for my Six Moon Designs Skyscape Trekker one-person tent. And I'd started with my buff on me, but I stashed it in the side pocket because it really warmed up the second morning. On the other side, I've got a 1 liter Nalgene bottle. I know this sounds really heavy for a fast packing or even an ultralight kind of trip, but this also doubles as my foam roller, which is really, really important, and it came in so handy. And this is what I've been doing, and I've created other videos on injury prevention and injury recovery, and this felt so good in the morning. In the top pocket, this is the over-the-top pocket, I have my little wallet. So it's got a credit card, driver's license, my insurance card, a little bit of cash, and my very small thin optics reading glasses, because I'm old enough that I cannot see without reading glasses. I've also got my poop kit in here, which is a simple trowel, a portable bidet, and some hand sanitizer. I used the privy so I didn't have to dig a hole, but I did use my bidet. And then I just wipe the seat down from any water that splashes for the next person. Okay, also up here I have my bug net, which I did not use, but it's easy to carry. I've also got my black diamond headlamp, very simple. And also what I always carry now are 2 little bread bags, bags for loaves of bread. And this is my like emergency hand protection, waterproof hand protection. So I always just keep that because it weighs nothing, and being without water, rain protection for my hands is really important to me. I've been caught with freezing cold, wet hands, and that's just no fun. So we've got our straps for the over-top lid. And what I've got underneath, what I used as my sleeping pad, is 2 Gossamer Gear 1/8 inch thin pads. And this, for me, worked out super comfortable for sleeping on. I did an overlap to sleep on, so my main torso had double thickness, and then my head and legs didn't have as much, but I just used my fleece, which you'll see, as my pillow. I don't use a pillow. I don't use a pillow at home, and I actually sleep on my floor in my bedroom on the carpet, so this is super comfortable to me. But my luxury item that I carried was the REI FlexLight chair. And I'm almost 55 years old. I'm tired of sitting on the ground. And at £1, this was totally worth it. I loved having this chair at night, and I loved having this chair in the morning, where I sat for a while and just read a book on my phone. This was so comfortable, totally worth it to me. I mean, I can't even tell you how happy I was to have this chair. Okay, on the back, I've got my Talenti cold soak jar. Now, I typically like a larger jar, but it just took up so much space that instead of the large size peanut butter bar, I went with my Talenti jar. It's the first time I actually ever used this on the trail, and I was planning to have ramen, and that's what I cold soaked this in. And 1 packet of ramen fits perfectly in this Talenti jar. It's hard to mix. Like, you can easily mix and have it overflow, so you got to be careful. But the Talenti jar worked perfect for cold soaking ramen. I also carried a map. I do like to have some kind of navigation, even though I completely know what the AT is going to be like in Maryland. I've done it many times. But I do like to just have a map just for posterity, and I'm just used to always having navigation. I also have my beanie, which I definitely needed, and I slept in it. And I also have 2 more bags, and these are really to cover my feet. And if I'm going to be walking through a lot of wet ground and marshy ground, this is what I'll put my feet in, and then inside my shoes. Again, it's super light, super simple, just for that extra protection going through super wet conditions, even though I expected no rain at all on this trip, and I had no rain. I've got my tent stakes, and I've got 6 in here. I only needed 5, but for my 6 Moon Designs Gatewood Cape, I need 6. And these are the Sheppard Hooks tent stakes, and they've worked perfectly on many trips. A cork ball, again, more injury prevention. This is what I attribute to being 23 years injury-free as an Ironman triathlete and coach. And then I did stash my spoon. And I know it's not the titanium ultra light spoon. This is a little bit heavier, but I like the silicone edges because it really helps me scrape the side of my food container or bowl or pot or whatever it is, and it really helps me get the container a lot cleaner without having to, you know, wash it really. I can just scrape the sides well with the silicone edges and then rinse it out, and I do drink the water that I rinse. Okay, that's everything on the outside. So as you can see, you can carry quite a bit of gear on the outside of this pack. The last thing I'll say is this, it does have the sit pad in the back that's removable, but I didn't need it. I didn't remove it. I didn't take any breaks during my time on the trail, like while moving on the trail. But, you know, it would have been nice around camp if I needed it. But hey, I had a camp chair, so that was awesome. Okay, let's go into the main compartment. On top is my Six Moon Designs Trekker tent. I've had this tent for over 10 years now, and it is fantastic. It's about 24 ounces, and I'm just stashing it now in a super simple Walmart dry bag that works out really, really well. Okay, so now in my main compartment of my backpack, I have a Nylofume bag liner, so the plastic liner. And again, this is all for water protection because this is just regular, this isn't any special backpacking material. I can't remember what the material is, but it's not like the latest very, very water resistant material. So the first thing I have in my bag is my very old Ursack. Now, I'm starting to carry this like all the time because I'm tired of throwing a bear line up in a tree. It just takes too long. It's too much effort at the end of the day. And a bear canister is really way too heavy and takes up way too much space. And this is just super simple. This Ursack is so old. I mean, this is like well over 10 years old, that it's the material that's not, it doesn't retain water. So, and inside I had an OpSack bag. And I'll go over my food in a minute. So odor-proof bag with the Ursack, and I could just fold it. I could put it on the top of my gear inside the Nylofume waterproof bag. So the next thing on top is my toiletry kit, which is just my glasses and contact lens case, the last bit of contact lens solution, a travel toothbrush, and I just use baking soda, which is light and odorless, and you can spit it anywhere. It's no problem. I've got some bug bite ointment, which is really helpful, extra contact lenses just in case. I've got some burn cream, which is the last bit of it, and that is great for chafing. And I do have nail clippers in here because I just find that to be a super useful little item. And then dental floss, because I've actually had to use dental floss to sew up a backpack when it failed. And inside my glass case, I have a large needle to use with that floss. Okay, then this is how I packed, you know, going out the morning of. So when I was ready to pack everything up, I had all these layers on. So I had a fleece, and I've had this fleece for like 20 years, so one day I'll replace it. I also had my puffy jacket, which was very comfortable to have in the evening and in the morning. Now, the shorts that I wore for my trail running were actually triathlon shorts. That's what I wear to work out in. They're very comfortable. And this to me was like a workout, not necessarily a all-day hike, but a workout, you know, basically just under 2-hour trail run. So I was really debating what I was going to wear for warmth without having to carry underwear and shorts and long pants. And I was like, what am I going to wear? So I ended up bringing some heavier Patagonia fleece, heavier insulation weight, but the weight of these is quite low. I mean, maybe 5 or 6 ounces. So this was my only insulating long pants, and they were perfect. And this is what I slept in, and it was so comfortable. I only carried one pair of socks. It's what I wore in. I slept in them, and I wore them out the next day. I did have a small first aid kit. I always bring an emergency blanket. I've never used it in 20 some years, but I still carry it. You know, call me crazy. I've got some anti-chafe cream, some Luca tape and Advil, some tenacious tape for any kind of gear repair, and then your basic assortment of Band-Aids and Imodium and Benadryl for any of those kinds of incidents. I think Benadryl is one of the best things you can take. And Imodium, you never want to have, the runs when you're on trail. And I've had that problem too. So it's really helpful to have the Imodium just in case. Okay. Now, the next two items are my rain gear. Now, these were packed inside my pack. Normally, they'd be outside for quick access if I'm expecting rain. But these are the Frog Togs. This is so lightweight. I mean, this weighs like nothing. And this was also going to be an extra layer up top and down below if I needed the extra warmth if it got really cold. But I didn't even need to wear them or use them at all. But wow, so light. I mean, I think the pants weigh like 4 or 5 ounces and the jacket's like 5 or 6 ounces. So that's the rain gear. Super simple. All right, and I think the last item in my pack, this is in a Sea to Summit dry bag. The last item in my pack is my 30-degree Western Mountaineering down sleeping bag. This weighs 19 ounces and it is super, super warm. Again, like most of my gear, it's over 10 years old and it does not hold to 30 degrees anymore. So I also carried a silk sleeping bag liner, and that's what I used overnight, down to about 45, 46 degrees. It comes in this little container, but I left it in the bag to pack it up in the morning. I was totally warm and comfortable all night, but I will say that I felt the chill through the 1/8-inch foam sleeping pad. I could feel that chill. That did keep me slightly chilly against the ground. So that's something to think about for me going forward, is I think if it's going to be less than 50 degrees and I'm trying to go light, then the 1/8-inch pad may not work quite so well for me. My normal sleeping pad is the closed cell foam Z-Rest sleeping pad, the accordion one. I've been using that my entire 25-year backpacking career. It's super comfortable for me, and I really do think it insulates a lot better because I've slept on that comfortably down to 30 degrees, or actually even lower than that, and I've slept comfortably and warm with that closed cell foam sleeping pad, but the 1/8-inch really didn't provide much of any kind of insulation. So I think that'll be a lot better for me for more of the summer type trips. So that's everything in my pack. And again, this pack was super comfortable. I definitely would recommend it if you're going to be getting into fast packing and you need something. It's about 20 ounces, I think, something in that range, 22 ounces. You have to check that out, but it was really comfortable to carry and to run with. And it took me just under 2 hours to run the 7 miles out and then coming back, and then I shot more video coming back. I'm really happy with all my gear. I pretty much used everything in my pack, except I didn't use my rain gear, and I carried these little wireless microphones, but I never used that as well. It's amazing how many things you just don't want to do when you're backpacking. I'll be honest with you, I didn't do a lot of my chores on the evening that I was out there backpacking. I didn't take my vitamins that I was planning to take. I didn't eat all my food that I thought I was going to need. I didn't roll the night before, and I didn't even put on my heavier layers until after I got in my tent and was, getting ready for bed, even though I was hanging around talking to people, although I was standing by a fire, so that did help a lot for keeping me warm. Really, everything else in my pack I used, which was pretty awesome. Okay, really quickly, I just want to talk about the food that I used for this overnight backpacking trip. Now, I wasn't really planning to take any breaks during my 2-hour trail run, so I didn't need any food or snacks that way. So I'd already eaten, earlier in the day, so I didn't really have to pack anything for the trail run. When I got to camp, I had a recovery drink, which is a powdered. It's Hammer Nutrition's Recoverite. It is what I swear by for many, many years after a workout. And I consider this to be, a 2-hour trail run to me is a workout. And after that, I was still hydrating with water. And then for dinner, I had a packet of ramen, a packet of chicken, like the tuna packets, but it was chicken. I also carried a packet of tuna where you would just tear open the pouch, but I didn't need that. And I had a fat bomb. So this is something that I've created. I'm going to do recipes in the future on my channel, but it's basically a bunch of nuts and seeds all crushed up, really tasty. And I just use stevia to sweeten it. And that's really what I had for my dinner. It was super satisfying, and it felt really good to eat it. And I didn't even need to eat everything. In the morning, I had prepared a breakfast with oatmeal that I could cold soak, and that has a bunch of trail mix in it. Mostly it was seeds, but I didn't really want to eat a large meal in the morning because I don't like to exercise with a really heavy belly. So I didn't even eat that. I did have my instant coffee, and I used my Talenti jar. You know, I filled it about halfway and had my instant cold coffee, and it was delicious while I was reading my book. And then I had a Cliff Bar, and that was super tasty. And it was really about hour and a half later that I started my trail run. Then on my trail run, I did have 2 hammer solids. So that was probably about 60 calories worth of primarily complex carb. And that's all that I had while I was getting back to my car. And then once I got back to my car, I did cold soak the oatmeal with the trail mix in it, and it was super yummy and tasty. And that's all I had. I had a couple other provisions. I had a tortilla and a packet of peanut butter in case I needed the extra food. And I think that's all that I carried. So it was a really great trip. I hope this has been fun to watch and see a different style of backpacking. Again, I'll say that yes, I carried a 17-pound pack for fast packing, but to me, having the extra chair, a comfortable sleeping bag, a full one-person tent that I carried on the John Muir Trail, I felt like I was kind of living in luxury on the trail. So I would definitely do that again. I just need to think about my gear a little bit more if I want to carry more food for a longer trail, so that I don't max out my backpack. So until next time, peace, love, and connect.